In 1982, a Soviet research team stationed in the Arctic received a radio transmission that didn't match any known frequency or language. 3 days later, they stopped answering their own radios. The outpost was written off as a failed mission until it started transmitting again in 2024. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union maintained dozens of Arctic research outposts. Most were used for tracking submarines and monitoring enemy communications under the cover of meteorology. One of the most remote was called Station 23, a facility so far north it didn't appear on any maps, buried into the Siberian ice shelf with only 6 men stationed inside. The first unusual transmission came in on March 2nd, 1982. It was a rhythmic pulse, sharp, repeating every 7 seconds with no modulation. Not a military frequency, not a known satellite, and not anything natural. The men at Station 23 assumed it was an echo, maybe a distorted signal bouncing from another outpost. But when they triangulated the origin, things got stranger. The signal was coming from directly beneath them, not a few meters, over 600 meters below the ice shelf. Lead technician Alexei Nikitin ran the signal through their analyzer again and again. Each time, the results were the same. There was no deviation in strength, no decay. It was like something below the ice was transmitting upward, perfectly. He recorded a brief sample and sent a coded message to command in Moscow. Command's reply came several hours later. Maintain focus on assigned frequencies. Do not engage anomaly. Continue scheduled monitoring. But the signal didn't stop. Over the next 2 days, it began to change. The pulse became distorted, shorter, then longer. Some of the crew thought they could hear tones beneath the static. One described it as a voice underwater. Nikitin started logging audio clips and transcribing timestamps. The others began reporting headaches, sleep disruption, and, in one case, a full blackout. On March 4th, one of the technicians, Sokolov, locked himself in the generator room. He claimed something was speaking to him through the walls. The others forced the door open and sedated him. His last words before passing out: "It's not a signal, it's listening." That same night, Moscow sent a final message: "Do not dig, do not transmit, cease all internal investigation." The team didn't reply. They had already started planning an unsanctioned descent to find out what was really under the ice. By March 5th, 1982, the crew of Station 23 stopped following orders. The message from Moscow, "Do not dig," had only made them more suspicious. Something beneath them was emitting a structured signal, and it was changing in ways that suggested intelligence. Nikitin couldn't let it go. They weren't spies or soldiers. They were scientists, and they were isolated, tired, and unraveling. Using the station's seismic drill, the crew began a covert excavation effort through the reinforced ice cap. They worked in shifts, careful to keep noise minimal. There was no camera feed, just a depth gauge and a hand-cranked winch system. After 36 hours of slow drilling, they broke through into a hollow. The sound changed immediately. The tone they'd been tracking dropped in frequency and gained a kind of echo, as if it were resonating inside a chamber. They lowered a microphone attached to an analog recorder. It cut out 6 seconds after passing the threshold. The crew debated sending down a camera, but 2 of the men, Sergei and Malov, volunteered to descend themselves. They suited up, attached breathing gear, and rappelled down with handheld lamps and tape recorders. No ropes, no radio. They never came back. At 4 a.m. the next morning, Dr. Pavel Antonov, the station's physicist, insisted on going down after them. Nikitin tried to stop him, but Antonov wouldn't listen. He returned nearly an hour later, without the others, barely conscious. His suit was soaked in freezing water. His face was pale, and his pupils wouldn't constrict under light. His hands showed signs of deep frostbite, despite wearing thermal gloves. When they asked what happened, he whispered, "They weren't alone down there." Then he collapsed. Antonov was pronounced dead 4 hours later. Autopsy notes from Nikitin revealed something inexplicable. Antonov's lungs were filled with fluid, as if he had drowned. But the air inside Station 23 was dry, and the fissure showed no signs of liquid water. By the evening of March 7th, only Nikitin was still functioning. The others were either missing or dead. Alone, he turned the radio back on. The signal was still broadcasting, but now on multiple bands, faster, closer. The final log entry Nikitin typed before going silent read, "It's not sending anymore, it's waiting." The official records say, Station 23 lost contact during a blizzard, a routine weather failure. No search party was sent. No recovery mission ever attempted. Within a month, the facility was erased from Soviet documentation, budget lines reabsorbed, coordinates scrubbed. But in 1991, following the fall of the USSR, fragments of Station 23's final logs surfaced in a box of misfiled naval reports. A Canadian researcher, Dr. Elaine Morneau, discovered the documents while cross-referencing Cold War sonar anomalies. Among the papers was a cassette tape, labeled only with the date, March 9, 1982. What's on it has never been officially released, but a redacted transcription, allegedly leaked in 2004, details the final 7 minutes of the station's recording. Here's what's known. The tape begins with static, then a deep reverberation, like metal groaning underwater. At the 1:22 mark, there's a sound that resembles a voice, but warped, backward syllables, slow and low. At 3:10, a man, likely Nikitin, speaks. They are underneath. They know we hear them. Then a silence. Then, at 4:56, the same distorted pulse that had plagued the station for days is heard again. But this time, there's a pattern. 4 tones, a pause, 4 more. The rhythm suggests a response, not random noise, but a language. At 6:02, Nikitin's voice returns, barely audible. Not from the ice, from beneath it. The final 30 seconds are consumed by a rising hum, something like pressure building in a vacuum. The tape ends with a loud snap, then dead air. Officially, the Soviet military never confirmed the station's existence. No bodies were recovered. The site, if it still exists, remains sealed under meters of shifting Arctic ice. But here's where it gets worse. In 2018, a Norwegian seismic station detected an identical signal during an unrelated ocean floor mapping project off the coast of Svalbard. It matched the 1982 pulse pattern exactly. Same timing, same frequency, same distortion. It lasted for 12 hours, then stopped. And a week later, another matching signal was detected. This time in Alaska. Different continent, same rhythm. That same researcher, Dr. Morneau, issued a quiet statement. after reviewing the new recordings. It wasn't just an echo from the past. It's still transmitting, and now it's closer.
What you heard tonight, it's just one of many. Subscribe to Hauntica for stories that shouldn't exist.